Sure the feed's coming through okay. I want to check on YouTube in particular. That's my go-to for making things are working all right. So just one moment and we'll kick things off. This is going to be a live coding session, and if you're watching this recorded, well, it's not live anymore, but you'll kind of see me get to go through some stuff. And yep, looks like we're going through okay. Great, okay. So I'm going to be kind of doing what I've done before when I'm doing coding on the stream, and that's that I don't have a ton of time. So when I'm trying to prepare YouTube videos and create my tutorials and things like that, I figured it might be kind of cool for you guys to see how I'm putting the code examples together, because I can explain things more in depth. If you are watching it live, then you can obviously ask questions. It can be almost like you're pair programming with me. So if you want to be yelling at me in the chat saying like, hey, you're doing this wrong, or you have questions, just feel free to ask, right? So it's the entire point of this. Technically, like, I could be going and putting this together faster on my own, but I figured it's another opportunity for some content to give you some behind the scenes look at stuff and like a teaching opportunity as well. So what I'm going to be doing today is building on the last video that I put out, which was about downloading files in C#. And in particular, we were looking at when you're trying to stream data from the internet. So say you wanted to download a video file or some big file, right? What we want to be able to do is request that file, start streaming the bytes, but there's a couple of gotchas that you can run into. And if you're not familiar with streams, or you're not familiar with the ways you can go download files, one of the big issues is that you could potentially be trying to stream a big file into memory. And that's because when you go to call some of these methods, the backing stream is going to be a memory stream, and a memory stream in C# is going to wrap a byte array. It's not what you're going to want. So the video I put together talked about being able to use response headers read instead of response content read when you're making that request. That way you can start almost like lazy loading the stream. So you're not going to wait for the whole thing to download, but you can start downloading after. So there was some feedback on the video. It seems to be doing pretty well, and I figured that means people are interested, so that's great. But some of the feedback was like, hey, like, could you show more with this? Could you refactor this into a reusable class? Like, could we see, could we actually see end-to-end the file being written out, doing some comparisons and things like that? One of the questions was about if we go to run this, the two variations, right? One with the lazy loading, the other doing the whole thing into memory, like is one faster? Because I used a timer in the first video, and I think people might have been trying to think that you might download faster one way. That's not the point. It was really about showing you your time to first byte, so to speak. So I'm going to flip over to Visual Studio, but like I said, feel free to ask questions. I am watching the chat. I'll try my best to to kind of jump over and answer questions as they pop up. If they don't happen to be about what I'm going through, if you want to ask other things that are C# related or general software engineering, I'm very happy to answer those things too. So if it's not on topic, don't feel like you can't ask. I'm, like I said, my goal here is in general to help. I happen to be walking through some C# code. So let me go over to Visual Studio. Let me get this flipped over here. I think I got to figure out what's going on with my camera when I flip over in OBS. There I am. Okay, so this is the previous video, or the code for the previous video that I had. And like I was just mentioning, it has two examples that I'm highlighting right now. And it's response content read and response headers read. The difference between calling these two things is this first example will give us a memory stream, and this second example will give us something that's more like a network stream that is lazily kind of pulling the data in as we try to stream it. So I figured one of the first things I want to do with this is I'm going to make a new project. I'm going to try wrapping this thing up in a little class that we can reuse. If you have thoughts about what you want to see on the API for that, let me know. I was thinking that what might be kind of cool is optionally having the ability to say, hey, look, if we can get the size, which by the way is not guaranteed, if we can get the size, maybe we can say, you know what, if it's under 1 megabyte or something, or under some parameter that we pass in, maybe we can just pull it into memory, right? Then we have a memory stream, which is seekable because the network stream is not seekable. We might be able to do some things like that. You might want to know when you're requesting to download that, whether or not you are going to have the length, just different things like that. Because the stream API, when you ask for the length, if it's not supported on the stream, it will throw an exception, which is kind of crappy. So let me go ahead and make a new project over here. By the way, I haven't thought about the API and stuff I want to use for this. I know that when I was thinking about putting this together, I know that I want to try playing around with some parameters like I just described, but I haven't really thought about what's going to feel good for usability. So let's call it streaming data dot download API, just as an example. I'm terrible with naming stuff, but not really the point here. We'll go ahead and get this made. And then I'm going to copy some of the code that we have from over here. One of the things I did too was I had this stream with length. I'm gonna grab that. Might as well move it over here just so I have it in this project. I am going to, let's see, have an HTTP client. Yeah, and the other thing too that's not great about this, when we go to wrap this thing up, I want to make sure that if you want, you can use an HTTP client factory, and that way you're not kind of stuck with newing up an HTTP client like this. If you're trying to run this kind of stuff on a server, every time you're newing these HTTP clients up, you can run into some nasty situations with socket usage. So I'm gonna see. I might have to import a package to do that. But anyway, let me go ahead and just copy this code, and I'm gonna start stripping it out. We're gonna want the URL. Let me just move the whole thing. Cool. So I don't know what I want to call this yet. Probably going to be an async method. Return type. This is already the part where I was thinking like I might want a special type as the return. I'm going to start with a stream for now because I don't know yet, but at least a stream is coming back off this thing. And when I don't know how to name stuff, I just start with 3 X's. And I know I'm going to want a cancellation token because that's good practice. And that's all I have for now, right? I don't really know what's up. Oh, a URL, I guess. And then I'm going to paste this code in here. And we'll start by getting rid of the stopwatch, because we don't need that. And we're going to use the second variation, which is the response headers red. This, again, is the variation that's going to not force things into a memory stream. So it will wait, other way around, sorry. It will not wait for all of the content. It will start allowing you to stream the response as soon as we get the headers back. So let me go do that. I'm thinking I want to pull this guy out into a little method, so I'll just refactor that out. It looked kind of nasty in the video that I created before. I was like, it's kind of gross to leave it here, but we can do something. Naming convention wise, like how do I like to do this? I like having something like a try get length like that, and that means that, oops, this guy is going to be a bool. I don't know why it gave it a 2. Oh, that's because it was already a 2 up here. Whoops. That's from the video though. We'll put that there. And what else? It needs to out the length. So we'll do something like that. And here's where it gets kind of weird, right? So I might change this around to if try parse. I like doing the negative cases. This is just I should mention this. It's kind of interesting, I guess. I think a lot of people learn in school or whatever. I've encountered this many times where people seem to have a very strong opinion about like single returns in a method. And I've seen people write like what seems like pretty ridiculous code, like so much logic into one method. And they go, well, no, like I have to have the return at the end. Otherwise, it's far too complicated if we have different returns. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, you might be right because there's so much code in your method that if you're returning in random spots, like, you know, like 10 levels nesting of like indentation, I'm like, yeah, I would get multiple returns could be pretty nasty, but I try to basically reduce indentation as much as possible, reduce the nesting, and then have returns. And to me, the code reads very nicely that way, because if there's ever a situation where I bail out, I don't have to keep reading the method to go see what's up. I just know that I stop reading if a condition's met and I'm done. So generally I like to structure code like that. It's not a rule, but so if we try to parse this and it's not right, and I could probably make some of this other stuff a little better, I might not worry about that for now. We'll return false. Oh, you know what? That needs to be there. And not have a var. It was trying to redeclare it essentially, but we already have it passed in here. Otherwise, return true. And then this is kind of funny because this could be a ternary operator. Or not even, I guess. That probably works just as well too. So a nice little method for us to reuse. It makes this part up here a little bit more readable. Okay, so let me make this also not stream 2. What else is going on? Okay, I mentioned the HTTP client part. I don't want to have this here. I want to see if I can do, and I'm not going to use a primary constructor. For what it's worth, I like using primary constructors in C#, and a lot of people are pretty against them because you start to lose that read-only ability, and it's worth mentioning if folks aren't familiar. So what I would like to do here is have a private read-only HTTP client factory, and I'm going to have to install the Microsoft extensions HTTP. We'll go ahead and do that. I love Visual Studio. And then this has to get passed in through the constructor. So we'll go ahead and do that. Now we have it here. I guess I should give this another name too, but that'll come. So this way we get a field that's passed in through the constructor. It's marked as read-only. Everyone's happy. Yay. But what we have is like all of this code. I mean, it's really not much code. If you have a lot more parameters being passed in and more fields, like you basically have to, like for one piece of information, it feels like it's duplicated literally across 3 lines, right? HTTP client factory, same thing, same thing. So with the primary constructor, like that feels so nice to me. But the problem is and I don't know, I know there's a good reason for this because the .NET team doesn't just make, it's not like they don't think about what they're doing, but this isn't read-only by default. And I would like it to be read-only by default. I would like an option to make it read-only by default, or sorry, like mark it read-only, but it's not how it works. So technically you could write code that does this. Now, almost every single class I make, like 90 to 95% of the time, if something's being passed in, I'm not touching it. So if I ever find myself writing code that's like, equals new HTTP client factory or setting it to null, like automatically a weird code smell, like it's super rare that I'm doing that. However, I also like to think that if I'm building software with other people, I can't just have only the things I like, only my standards. The other thing too is like I use dependency injection all of the time. So I would never be saying new class 1. I would just be asking for this off of the iService collection or an autofac container, which by the end of this video, I want to show that we could go drop this onto a service collection and do dependency injection to pull all these things off. So I'm not going to go with the primary constructor, but I would like to. But I think when I go to make a video about this, probably some people are going to be up in arms about that. I'd rather just avoid that, but I wanted to explain it. Okay, so far so good. That means we don't need this. We can actually ask the factory to create a client for us. What else is going on here? Out length. Okay, so we should, couple things we got to start thinking about now. I want to think about the API that we're exposing here, right, on this guy. So obviously we need a name because that name is terrible. But the other thing is that I want to think about how someone goes to use this. And my thought process right now is like, when you go to download something, it would be nice to know if we, like, as the caller of this method, if we're going to know the length. I think that would be super helpful. And basically, if we do get the length, I want to make sure that the stream that comes back also has the length. And that's why this was important to me, this stream here, the stream with length, which seems silly because it's literally just going to be something that does a lot of forwarding on properties and methods. But if we get it, let me walk through this with you for a moment. So if we call this method and we pass in a URL to a video, when we go to do this part to get the stream, because we're using this, we're not going to get a memory stream back, which is good because I don't want to load all this stuff into memory if it's a really big file that we're downloading. That means we're going to get a network stream here, and that network stream is not going to be seekable, which I can't fix, and it's not going to have a length on it either. Even if we can call this, that stream is not going to have a length, at least from my experience so far doing this. So that's why I want to, if we have a length, return a stream that also has a length. So a bunch of stuff going on, but something that I'm thinking is like, if we try to get the length and we get it, I would like to make a new stream with length like this, right? And otherwise, return the stream. This stream with length thing, we're going to have to enhance this because this class, when I made it in the previous video that I put online, this was kind of just hacked together because I didn't finish it. I was just explaining, like, you could go do something like this. And I'm already losing my voice. Okay. So we're going to have to fill this thing out because it's not okay. And one of the things in particular is this concept of ownership. So when this stream, if I scroll back up, this is going to, between these two methods, we're going to have a new stream made for us. If I go past that stream into stream with length, if stream with length doesn't end up disposing of stream here, no one else after we leave this method knows about the stream that's inside to be able to dispose of it later. So we need this concept of taking ownership. We'll just call it take ownership. And that means we'll put a field up here. And when we go to dispose, which is, I guess, already implemented, so we have to override dispose. And we'll say if disposing and take ownership, do that. This way, what will happen is when we go to create this thing up here, I want to say yes, we'll say with the name. I don't like, I've started doing this more recently when I'm passing Booleans around, especially if it's just a constant value, true or false. I like making sure that I use the parameter name. I find like that's a lot less readable. Sure, true, but now you have to go like into here to figure out what true means. So I like just doing that. You could argue the same thing on these other things as well, but I find if I have good names on my variables, I don't have to worry. But you know, another example, doing that kind of thing, right? I'm just not gonna. This part is kind of silly, but if this was a parameter passed in or something, then I wouldn't have to go provide the name. So, oh, I think I went too far. So something like that I think will be good. And it's still going to be kind of weird. I'm not totally sold on this yet. Forward the cancellation token. Good call. What else we got going on? Forward the cancellation token. Once we start getting into multiple lines like this, I like spacing things out a little more. Another thing too, async stuff. We don't know where this is being called from. If this were in a library and we have a user interface, we probably want to be able to use configure await false. If you are doing something where there is no scheduler that's going to be able to kind of flip across threads on the return of a task, you don't have to worry about that. But I'm just in such a habit of doing this because if I go to reuse code in something with a user interface, I just want to make sure I have this kind of stuff in place. So yeah, it adds extra lines everywhere. It's a pretty weird design in general, but I just get in the habit of doing it. So, okay, we have the response, we have the stream, we potentially wrap it if we have a length, and no matter what, we're going to return a stream. I still am not a huge fan of this API when we call it. So let's kind of see this for a second. I'm going to, I still need a name for this thing. We'll call it like, or like stream downloader. Sure. And we'll call this something like get stream, maybe to start. We'll see. We can always name it better later. So stream, what's going on here? Can I not do my top level statements? Well, that's weird. Why not? Oh, because the namespace. Okay. Oops, didn't see that. So what I wanted to do was do a stream downloader. We'll make a new one. But as we saw, we need an HTTP client factory. I don't know if I want to start with an iService collection. Maybe. Oh, it's not called this. Man, what is the thing that makes this? I wrote a blog on this. Let me... This is why I make blog articles, so that I can go reference them when I'm messing up. Give me 1 sec, and I will put it on the screen as well. I use AutoFac for like 100% of everything I do. So I know exactly how to do this in AutoFac, but when I'm, especially if I'm not an ASP.NET Core, I'm like, nope, I can't remember. But I did write this fun little blog article. Let me get this up here so you guys can see at the same time. There we go. And we can see this is the example that I think came from the Microsoft tutorial. And the reason I wrote this blog was that when I went looking for this answer, I was like, kind of weird that I'm forced into this pattern of using a host application builder. This might be something, oh, by the way, I have a newsletter if you guys want to sign up for that. It's my little pop-up there. I felt it was a little bit like heavy-handed to be forced into this, and it might be like good practice in most console applications, I guess, depending on what you're building. But I was like, if I just want a service collection and that's it, like, what's going on? Oh, and I did do it right. Okay, so we can make a new service collection, but we need the service provider coming back off. So this code here is what I was interested in. And can I put the link to that in the chat if you guys want to try this out? Actually, let me just put the whole link to this article in the chat. So if you guys want to check that out, that is how I'm going to be doing my service collection. So I'm just going to move this over to my other screen so that I can see what's going on. Okay, so make a service collection. Oh, I do add HTTP client. Nice. So this comes from the NuGet package that I added. I'm hoping it's going to work without all of the ASP.NET Core stuff I haven't really seen. Service collection.add singleton stream downloader. And then we're going to do var service provider. Now, let's put it here. Oh, Copilot knows. There we go. Great. Okay. So what I was trying to get to is seeing what the API is going to feel like. And I guess I should go find that video too. One sec. It was sample MP4. So I just went onto Google, search sample MP4. This is what I used in my previous YouTube video on this stuff. So I'm just going to copy this, right? So we're going to have a 21 meg video. Cool. And that's going to be here. And we'll see what this API looks like. So something like that. Now, again, when I call this, I'm missing out on the fact if there's a length or not. And to prove it, let's do this. I'm going to write the stream length out. So if the network stream, okay, a couple things. One, if it comes back as a memory stream, we'll have a length, but it shouldn't because of the settings that I'm using. Number two, if it has a content length in the header, we should get a length, but if there's not something weird going on, and this is the exact same as when I made the YouTube video, this particular file that I'm requesting, we don't get the content length. So this stream that comes back is not going to have a length on it, unfortunately, unless something magic has happened since. But let's see. Thanks for the link, but now you have a small chat overlay in your stream. Yeah, I do try to keep the chat overlay there. If you guys want, I can hide it, but I like having it so you guys can see what's in the chat. And I ran the wrong app. But yeah, I like it so that if people start asking questions and stuff, is it covering too much of the screen though? I can shrink it a little bit, but it's there. Let me run this now. What am I? Oh man. I thought that the second project, I was very distracted. I thought the second project was the new one. It's this one at the top. And it doesn't build. Excellent. What doesn't work? Oh man, I didn't make it an executable. Oh, that's so annoying. Okay. Also, the stream with length is not complete. So even if this does work, it's not going to work. So we'll get a client. That's great. That worked. We get the stream. We're going to run this call here to see if we get the content length. There is no header. So we just pass back this stream here. And before I run that part, stream itself is a content length read stream from HTTP connection, but I don't think it has a length on it. Can't speak. Specified method is not supported, so it did hit the catch block. We don't get a length, which is kind of unfortunate because I would like to be able to have that, or at least know as a caller, right? There is no stream has length. And the only other thing that I've seen really align with having a length or not is can seek. So usually, but not always, it's not enforced, but usually if you can seek, you have a length. Usually. But like I said, it's not enforced by the API that we have because I have a length that I'm setting here. If I go and make this one, and the can seek part, I could literally do that. Right? There's nothing that forces you to have those things tied together. So it's kind of a pain in the butt. But okay, we're going to need to do this part. This is going to be boring, so I'm sorry. We're just going to do a pass through for literally everything. Be cool if there was like a way that automatically did this. Like you could decorate a class with an attribute and it would just map everything, and then you could choose which things to go override, but we don't really have that luxury. And I don't know if that's a common enough scenario. What am I trying to do here? I want to inner dot position. Now, the other thing is I'm going to see if I can try to find a URL that has a length on it, or like a content length, because that would be cool. And now that I'm saying this, when we saw that stream come back that said like a content length read stream or whatever it was, I wonder if that one already has this logic built into it. Which would be funny, but I don't think it does. And the reason that I don't think it does is because I was building something like this for a side project, and in fact, the stream did not have a length on it, even though the content length was passed in the header. So maybe, but I feel a little skeptical about that. And hopefully Copilot starts picking up the rest here. Thank you. This one's kind of weird. I might do this. We don't want to be able to set the length at all. And we have a dispose method. Okay, cool. I'll shrink that back a little bit. Okay, so we are in a situation where at least if this stream gets made, we'll be okay. But we don't have a good URL to go make it. Sad trombone sound, womp womp. Let me see if we can find something else. What's a good way to do this? Where do we find... Should I just search on the internet again? Let's see. One sec. Try to find some sample MP4s. I guess it doesn't really matter if it's a video or not. Okay, let's try. Doesn't matter what it is as long as it's not super tiny. And we don't know, so we'll see. We'll step through, and really I'm curious about this method. What headers do we get? Probably not content length, right? Nope. Okay. Well, this might be a super awkward video to go make if we can't find something with a content length. Can I download this? Does anyone in the chat have a safe video they can link? I don't know if I can trust the chat yet. Sorry. I can always open it in another tab, I guess, but... I'm just clicking around here on the internet. No, we don't want to play it. Can I download it? Oh, we're not doing that. We're getting risky here. Jeez. Okay, we'll try one of these guys. You're getting pop-up ads and stuff now. Get out of here. No, Andy, sorry, I'm not building a YouTube download clone. I am walking through some C# code to be able to illustrate that when we try to download files, we're not guaranteed to get a length. And the challenge when we don't have a length is that, well, a couple things. At the beginning, when you're trying to just make the request, there are settings that you might have. And if I scroll down a little bit lower, this is an optional setting. It's not the default. The default will try to basically download the file into memory. And if you're downloading large files, that might not be what you want. You might want to minimize your memory usage. So using this property here, or this argument we can pass in, we are able to start streaming as soon as we get the headers instead of waiting for .NET to pull in the whole stream or the whole set of bytes into a memory stream. Now, the challenge, though, is that stream that we get back is a type of stream that does not have a length. And if you try to ask for the length on that stream, it will throw an exception. So we're trying to see if we can get a content length header on the response. And if we do have that, then we should be able to make it a little bit nicer for us to use. But now I need to find a download link for a video that will have that. So we'll see. Maybe this is the one. Yeah, it's kind of awkward just trying to find random files to go download, but come on. Nope. So what kind of headers do we got here? Feeling kind of silly. Oh, there it is. Nope. Okay. It doesn't have to be a video either, I guess. I wonder if I go back to my blog, can I grab a image file? Apparently I need to write my blog from scratch instead of using WordPress. I wonder if my blog just went down. I have a feeling, literally while on stream, my blog has gone down. This is why we don't use WordPress and Lightsail. This is the worst combination. Oh my goodness. Okay. Finally. Okay. So if I go into here, can I get this? And if I take this link, this is going to be a smaller file, right? So that's not the whole point of this video. We're just trying to see if we can get the length. Now, when we go to what I'm hoping to get to, and we might not get there, is I want to write benchmarks for it. And not to, it's like writing benchmarks for this kind of thing is going to be a little silly because we're going out to the internet and downloading files. It's not going to be consistent. But if I can run them over a period of time, we might be able to see like memory usage. It's less about the runtime, but more about the memory usage. So I'm kind of interested in that, but it means we need both flavors. We need to have something that will have the content length and something that won't. So let's go see if downloading a picture from my blog has it, and it doesn't. Well, maybe it never exists and we'll never see it. Oh, what's in here? No. I want to... It's hurting my eyes. This text is too small. I wanted to see it this way. It's a little bit easier. Interesting. Well, maybe we can go check on the internet when that's set. Maybe there's a pattern. Thank you, Stack Overflow. So let's see. I know this is what it is. Okay, content length entity header field indicates the size of the entity body. Sure. Applications should use this field to indicate. Oh, interesting. And so first, Greg, thanks for the. I'll check. I don't even know if I can say that. I don't even know what that is. So I will check that. And Andy has an interesting point. Maybe content length header isn't available until the client attempts to access the body. Very interesting. I never thought about that. So let me, first of all, thanks to both of you. I'm going to search. Okay, I'd never heard of Hetzner. I wanted to make sure I wasn't about to get like, hey, go to like, I don't know, something real bad, and then I click it and then not in good shape. So Hetzner, can I just search like test files? Oh, nice. Okay. Let's see. So we know that none of these work, so that's okay. But Andy has a very interesting point, so no headers coming back still. So that might be the case. Oh, content length, it's there. Am I just very silly? My cursor's too sensitive, apparently. For context, I guess last week or 2 weeks ago, I switched over to my gaming machine for doing streaming and video recording because my laptop, I've been fighting with audio issues for over 8 months and bought like a whole new setup. Doesn't matter. Apparently, there's just like literally hardware problems with my Alienware laptop, and nothing's gonna fix that unless I buy a new one. So I'm not doing that. So I just switched over to my gaming machine, but now like there's little quirks like my mouse is like too sensitive and I'm not paying attention, that kind of stuff. So okay, so it's not content link. What's up here? I'm pretty sure it's supposed to have a dash. And why can't I see it now? Let me pull this back up. I'm positive I saw it. Oh no, is it right on the response? Oops. Oh my goodness. I was accessing the wrong thing this whole time. Well, there you go. That's this is a great learning opportunity for everyone. This is why if you're pair programming, which technically we're doing that right now, even though it might feel a little bit one-sided, when you're pair programming, you can catch all sorts of dumb stuff like this. So that is my fault. So there we go. So maybe Andy is partially right here because accessing content at least gets us the headers. But yeah, that's my bad. Okay, so can I do this without recompiling? Yes. Super cool feature. There we go. Has a length. Best day ever. And we can parse it out. We get a length. Cool. Now we get this other stream made. Okay, thank you, Greg. Thank you, Andy. I don't know if I would have gotten there if you guys hadn't pointed me in that direction, so I appreciate that. Okay, and that actually means I feel this is always a crappy thing when I do this and like that YouTube video is out there, I can't go and edit the YouTube video, right? Which sucks because now it just lives there for forever. And someone's gonna, and you could go do this now if you want, go comment on my video and be like, you're such an idiot. It's obviously on, it's obviously on this other property. Anyway, we'll go make that stream, right? So now, I left this in here and I shouldn't have. Now we go do this. I check the console, we get the length, right? Best day ever. But it's still not a great API for us. And it's not a great API because if we didn't have the content length for any reason, because it's not guaranteed that it's set there. If you, I know I only showed it briefly. Maybe I still have it up here. Wherever it was on here, applications should use this. It is not enforced. It's not enforced. Applications should use it. So we can't just assume it's going to be there. And just like we don't want to assume it's there, when we're going to use this stream object, I don't just want to go ask for the dot length and it's not supported. It doesn't have a has length property, which is very unfortunate. We could add an extension method, and this would be terrible, by the way, like an extension method that says has length, and then it does a try catch around trying to access length. Not a good time. I don't want to do that. So the way that I was thinking about doing this was having a result come back from get stream and doing something like, and this isn't going to be perfect either. When I started this stream, I kind of mentioned I hadn't thought through the design of this yet. So this is me trying things out, right? So I was thinking of doing something like a stream result and then doing the stream and then doing something like the length on here. That was kind of my first thought. And that way, when you go to call this API, you're actually doing this, and it's not that. And it's not even the length, I guess. I don't want that. I want bool as length. I think that's what I want to do. So this is going to make some things look pretty gross inside here, so please bear with me as I try to explore this. I want to do something like this. That's my new preferred way, by the way. I don't like declaring. I use var all the time, as you'll notice, right? Use it all the time. But if I'm newing things up, I like to put the type name on the left and then just use the shorthand syntax on the right. Because me doing this, oops, just feels silly now. It's literally the type in two spots. So some people hate having var here, right? And then doing the type on the right. It's my preferred way to do things now. I mention this because if you're wondering why I'm doing it, it's just personal preference. If I were working and coding this on Teams, I would be talking with my team about the standards that they want to use, right? I'm not going to die on a hill trying to fight for using var if people hate it. I just don't like doing stuff a lot. And yeah, big fan of type. Type equals new. We read left to right. Exactly. So the reason like I don't end up putting stuff like this here is just like, for a lot of it, I rarely have situations where I'm doing this kind of thing and I'm like, man, I really wish I knew exactly what the type was. Like, I almost never need to know. Personally, it just doesn't seem to really inhibit my understanding of code. That's why I was saying if other people on the team are like, dude, like, absolutely not, I hate that, then I'm like, cool, like, the readability is important. And if that's affecting your ability to read the code we're working on, I will change what I'm doing. So that's just little tangent. Okay, so we have a stream with length in here. So I'm focused on this part that I'm going to return out of. But that means I want to return this kind of thing. Now, this is where it gets weird. Because this is going to feel pretty gross. I don't know all of the types of streams that this thing can return. I don't know if it tells us. Kind of doubt it. Memory stream. Okay, so again, we're kind of poking inside. I always think that if you have to go look inside of a method, like, you're probably about to do something gross. And spoiler alert, I am about to do something gross. So I was thinking that the challenge is still, I don't know if there's a length. And I can't just trust if it can seek. Maybe I can. I don't know. Maybe we should let's search that. Maybe that's like an unspoken thing. Let me open a new tab here. Here we go. See, everything's on Stack Overflow, therefore in all of the large language models. But okay, additionally from the docs for stream can see if a if a class derived from stream does not support seeking, calls to length, set length, position, and seek, throw, and not supported exception. This doesn't say it the other way, I feel. Like it tells us if it can't seek. Oh, sorry, no. I guess no, it does say it the right way. It does say it the right way. If a class derived from stream does not support seeking, which means if we check it and it says false, calls to length, set length, position, and seek, throw a not supported exception. Okay, so that's good to know, but it feels kind of silly. So I don't need any of this stuff because we can just check the can seek. Now, here's I guess there is a bit of a weird thing here. I did illustrate to you earlier that, what was I trying to show exactly? So if we're basically, when we make an instance of this class, the stream with length, I can set the length because I know it. But they're actually saying in the MSDN docs, apparently, according to Stack Overflow, and I trust it, they're saying if can seek is false, these are expected to throw. But it's like, I have that information. That feels gross to me. Like, why would I not indicate it on my stream that we know the length? So I guess this is a bit of a crossroads, right? I either go against the recommendation in the docs, which to me doesn't necessarily line up with the API, and that feels bad, or I go ahead and I just do what the docs say. And I don't like that. But we're at a crossroads, so if we're going to play by the docs, that means we don't need this thing at all. We don't need it. And I'm going to walk down this path, explain some things, and we'll kind of chat through the implications of this. So, stream result here, instead of has length, it will be the length. Because apparently we're not supposed to use the stream length if it can't be, it doesn't support seeking. I hate that. Okay. That means here, maybe this should be nullable as well. So what happens if we have a stream that doesn't have the length? We expect a null on the length. It's already, like, this is already more gross. I'm going to go down this path. If you have thoughts about what you're seeing as I type it, feel free to share, because, like, I already don't like it, but I kind of want to see it in use before I make up my mind. I'm going to comment this part out. It's on my clipboard, though, so let me, because I don't know, I might want to come back to the stream thing. I'm not sold on it yet, that we need to go follow those rules. It just feels really terrible to me. Okay, so if we do this, that means we should be able to say stream here and check if it has a length. We'll do that. And this is actually the length now, right? What's going on? Oh, it's not named, I guess. There we go. Okay, so if we have length, otherwise, no. We could use a -1. I don't know. Awesome. Thanks, Andy. I appreciate the support. Cool. Okay, so we're gonna go down this path, try it out, see how it feels. I am speculating I'm not gonna like this though. This is no longer using that. It's a stream result. And how that looks is we would have to say something like stream result dot length has value, and then stream result dot length dot value. Like it's not great. And then you could do, I probably wouldn't even write it like this actually. It's too nasty. So I'd probably just put in an if statement like this. Come on, Copilot. No. There we go. Look at that. It knew. So this might be workable. Stream result, we can check the length. I hate the nullable long. Like that part to me feels just really, this feels really gross to use. Let me go run it. Oops. Don't need that anymore. I just wanted to see what it, yeah, so it works, right? But this just feels gross. This is what I wanted to get to though. The other part that's terrible about this is that if you are working with streams, so there's lots of classes that either exist or you might be writing and you're working with a stream. And this is literally the entire reason I had to go do this, is that I needed to know the length of the stream I was working with. I didn't care to seek. I'm downloading something from the internet. I'm trying to send it somewhere else. And part of my process is that I require the length. So that means in my API that I'm dealing with internally to my system, what I would have to do is pass around not only the stream, but also a length associated with that. Because apparently, according to the docs, if we can't seek, we're not supposed to set the length. I'm not digging that. I feel like that's not okay. So let's go put this back. We're going to break some rules. This would be worth talking about when I make the actual YouTube video that's a little bit more succinct on this. Again, we're going through all the learning right now. I will mention, because I learned that today, about can seek and the length. I figured it was probably implied because it seemed to be consistent, but like I'm not down with that. So we're not going to do that. We are going to have a stream here and has length. We'll stick to that. And has length is true there. And what I'm going to do, we don't have to call that again. This is where it was going to look a little bit gross. Wow, I can't spell. Has length. Okay, so if the stream can seek, it has a length. That's because apparently we have the only stream that's not inside of .NET that is going to have a length and not can seek at the same time. So we'll go up and change this. Oh, sorry, that is still a stream result, but it is a little bit nicer to use, I think, because we should be able to do something like this. This is kind of stupid. This is just this is just the string interpolation part. Sorry. So we can check if it has a length now, right? If the result came back and it has a length, we know we can access length. Otherwise, my goodness, my spelling is not okay. Calls toString on that. Where am I missing? I can't see where I'm missing my stuff. Does it need... I don't know why that happens. String interpolation isn't a big fan of you doing that kind of stuff without extra parentheses in there. I don't know if you caught that, but if I take this off and this off, it can't figure it out. It can't figure it out. But if I put these back in, it knows, even though it's inside of the curly brace. It's kind of interesting. Okay, so we should be able to do this because we trust that coming back from this method, that if it said it has a length, then we can read the length off of this. So running this again, right? That just works. I much prefer this personally. And if I kind of explain in my own system where this was coming up a little bit more, what I started to do was that stream with length class that we saw, I basically started enforcing in places that needed a stream with a length. Like you had to go make a new instance of that class. And because it can wrap other streams, it was very convenient because I could say, hey, look, on my API, let me just show you. It's probably easier than me trying to talk with my hands at you on a stream. So what I started to do was something like this. I'd have so I have something else, right? And it has a method on it that's like public void do something. And it would have taken a stream. And we're doing some stuff in here. And at some point, it needs to access the stream length. Actually, I have a great idea. Okay, so this is the idea. So it has a method like this. Right? It's doing something and it needs to be able to access the length. But then what I was running into was with my downloading, everything that we just saw, right? If I go back to here, because the stream that comes back from this is not guaranteed to have a length. In fact, it just doesn't have a length, which is annoying because it doesn't. And that makes sense now because it's, as Microsoft is saying in the MSDN docs, if it can't seek and you can't seek on the network stream, it won't have a length just by default. So what ends up happening is we pass in a stream here, and from our perspective of this method, we don't know. It could be any stream. It could be a file stream. It could be a memory stream. It could be a network stream like we were seeing. When that happens, if we go to access length, it blows up. Now I know, based on MSDN docs, they are saying if you can call can seek, you should be able to be protected. But in my case, again, I'm just bringing up this use case. I don't care about seeking. I literally don't care. I just want to be able to have the metadata to know the length of what I'm downloading. That's all I care about. And as a result, if I follow the MSDN docs, it means that I can't do that. I would literally have to go do this kind of thing. Right? I would have to do that and guarantee that someone can pass in the length. So my way around this was basically to do this. Stream with length. And the reason that's important for me is that I know that if I'm accessing this class, it's guaranteed to have a length on it that's set. Guaranteed, 100% all the time. And that's important because now I can have more trust and confidence in what I'm building inside of here because I'm sort of forcing things to go down a certain path. Now you might say, well, Nick, that makes it harder to call this thing. And you're right. It does. So let's get rid of this. And we'll do some other system component, right? We'll make a new one. We'll call it. Say, okay, well, see, like Nick, you can't call that now. You have to go do this whole other thing. And look, Copilot just knows. Isn't that great? So this is how we would have to do it. But I actually don't mind this. I actually kind of like this a lot. And that's because in my spots, that I'm needing this length, I just know that I have a type that's going to work. I'm not saying that this is how you have to do it. All that I'm trying to do is walk you through some different examples of like what you might want to consider when you're writing code, right? So I'm making it a little bit more work to call this thing. And we could even shorten it, right? This is a little gross, but you could do an extension method on this thing. And how would this look? So what I wanted to show you, and I'll show you kind of the long, gross way first, and then we can talk about something else. So we might be able to say if stream result, stream is, if it is a stream with length, can we do... Can I just do that? I think I can do that. Cool. Okay. So, yeah, I know it's looking gross, but bear with me for a sec. What I'm saying is, hey, look, if we have a stream that's coming back and it is already a stream with length, then don't do anything. Just leave it. You can cast it. You know that it's going to be the type you need. Otherwise, we're just going to wrap it. We're just going to wrap it. And that way we can take the result off of the stream result and actually, yeah, this check all makes sense. Otherwise, it's a 0. That actually doesn't make sense. So we would need to throw an exception or something. So, and just to explain that for a second, because that's probably a little confusing because the ternary operator, we actually can't or don't want to do this kind of thing. We don't want to go make a stream with length with a 0 length. It's defeating the whole point. So we'd have to throw like some exception to say like it's not working. Like you can't go make it this way. But now we can go clean this up a little bit. Because I think we can go make an extension method that basically does this. So I would like to do I need an extension method? Do I want to put it on stream? Yeah, let me do it on stream. By the way, I'm thinking about these things like on the fly, so sometimes you'll see me go down a path and I'm like, nah, that was stupid. But that's normal. That's how I code, right? I'm going to try things out. I am the kind of person that when coding, I like to go down certain paths. It might be a little bit wasteful, but it helps immerse me into what I'm writing. Some people might say, like, I'm going to spend a lot more time just like thinking about how I want to design stuff. And some things I do like that, like especially like a system design, I usually step back a little bit. But sometimes for APIs and using code, I just like want to code it so I can try it quicker. The sooner that I can get a feel for how it looks, the less time I spend in general. So, and maybe I shouldn't say less time I spend in general, less time I spend overall, because I've gotten to try it. And I didn't say, hey, I'm going to plan all of this out ahead of time, stick to a path, and then I start using it. And I'm like, man, this feels like garbage to use. So I like getting in the code and messing around. Okay. Sorry, I was falling apart. Okay, so static class, we're going to do some stream extensions. I will describe extension methods for you watching on the stream if you're not totally familiar. I don't know the whole audience. Some of you obviously know about this. Some of you may not, so it's worth explaining a little bit. Extension methods allow us to attach other methods onto types. In the next version of C#, I guess, I'm trying to figure out if it's .NET or C# that technically has this. But anyway, it's coming up. Where we're going to have more of a first class, like extends kind of functionality. And there's already videos and stuff online about this. Pardon me, if you're watching my videos, you're almost guaranteed to be watching Nick Chaps' videos. He's already made videos on this. And I don't know, I haven't checked. The .NET team might have already published stuff on this because Build was the other week, and there's a ton of content coming out of that. So I am going to be using normal extension methods, but I'm just kind of adding some context here that the capabilities we have coming up are going to be looking different for this sort of thing. So what I'm thinking about doing is having a stream with length. This needs to be static. And what we're going to do, we have to give it a name. Stream with length. And we need this. Sorry, I was just trying to read if Copilot was doing what I want. If I could just press tab. I don't think it is quite yet. So here's what I was trying to figure out. Okay, so I just wanted to comment this so I could have it as a reference. So if the stream we have already is, oops. So if it is a stream with length already, just return it. This just turns into a cast. That's nice. We don't have to go make another stream with length to wrap a stream with length. That's just literally silly. So just return it. Otherwise, we are going to make it. So what does it need? Well, it needs the stream that we're passing in. Oh, this reminds me why I wanted to structure it a little bit differently. I want this to be a try method. I don't like throwing exceptions. I find as soon as I have to throw an exception in code, I try to redesign my API, like almost immediately. I don't like doing it because I want, how do I phrase this? I want as much sort of control flow to be guided by result types or booleans, like data, rather than exceptions. As much as possible, I want to avoid throwing exceptions to guide the application. The whole point of this thing is to be able to be helpful to get us a stream with a length if we can. If not, I just want to know that we cannot. That's the goal. I don't want it to say, this is an exceptional situation, you should stop the program. That's like when you throw exceptions, that's what you're indicating. The program should not run anymore. Something's wrong. I know we can put try catches in place, but that's the point. I don't want you to have to put a try catch around this thing just to be able to check whether or not you can make one of these. So this is why I wanted to pull it into an extension method, because if I scroll back up, the fact that I wrote this, if you recall, as soon as I wrote it, I said, I want to put this into an extension method because I'm going to try to clean this up, which means I am going to make this a Boolean return type. Try as stream with length. I don't like that. I don't have a better name yet, though. So the other thing, too, is that I'm using the naming convention and the out sort of standards that we have built into the rest of .NET, but I have my own result type. So when I'm building my own libraries, I would just have, instead of an out parameter, this would be a result type that I have. I'm just elaborating a little bit. So stream with length is here. So that would mean we would set stream with length to be casted. Why doesn't it like it? Oh, it's because this part's throwing it off. Okay, so then we would say, if it's not, we would have to check if you can seek. So Copilot knows. Does anyone else have this problem? I should redo that. This is what I have to live with Copilot. And I've seen a couple of other people on Twitter say this, but watch. See how it looks nice and formatted? I'm going to press tab. Like, what is that? Why is it doing that? It's absolutely outrageous. So every time I'm using Copilot, I have to go back and do that. I was just doing it out of like, I don't know, like a muscle memory, right? Like I should pause and see. If you're watching this now, let me know. And if you're watching it recorded, let me know if when you use Copilot, if it makes these ridiculous indentations. I don't understand why that's the case. Anyway, it's been driving me nuts. So if we can see, we can make a new one of these, because according to the docs, we should be able to access the length. Should be. Otherwise, this thing's going to throw. So to be extra safe, we could put a try catch around this. I'm going to come back to that in just a moment. Otherwise, we will say stream with length is null, return false. So I am going to put a try catch on here. This is probably making some people's skin crawl. Sorry. If you call my method and it says try on it, in my opinion, this thing ain't throwing any exceptions. Not happening. I actually have my own patterns that I use in my own code that basically change methods into big try catches. If they say try in the name, it's basically going to enforce that no exceptions getting thrown. That way I can work with my result pattern and check for exceptions and errors and things like that. And I find, again, personal preference, that switching to that versus just calling stuff and having to do try catches everywhere, I basically build the try catch into the method itself with some helper classes and things like that. Actually, this is a good reminder. I should ask my friend who does a lot of Roslyn stuff if I bet you he would have a really good way that if I marked something with try in the name like this, that he could tell me how I could use Roslyn to do something fancy there. But anyway, just wanted to mention that if I am putting try out the front in the name, I don't expect that my method is going to throw any exceptions. So to be even safer, I would wrap this whole thing in a try catch, but I'm not for now, because that shouldn't ever throw, and that should never throw either. It would be kind of ridiculous. So it's on the part that needs it. Technically, can seek could throw. Technically. And if you don't believe me, like, there is nothing stopping from someone making a stream like that. It won't be in the built-in stuff, I hope. But, you know, there's nothing stopping from someone making a stream like that. So I actually will go ahead and move this out here. Will this format nicely? There we go. What am I missing? There we go. Too many curly braces. Okay, so now we have a stream extension method. That was a lot of work just for an extension method. And we could do something like, so stream result. I guess we can't put it there. We would do something like this. Stream result dot stream. Try as stream with length. We'd have to do some type of handling and see how I can use an if statement here instead of a try catch. I love this. That's the whole point with the try stuff, right? I build it into the language. Like when I say language, I don't mean into like C#, obviously. I mean into how the code reads. I want to be able to use if statements instead of try catches wherever possible. In this particular case, yes, I had to bury a try catch in here, but I try to hide this kind of stuff so that callers don't have to think about it. And that way, if I in here needed to return some type of error situation that's not truly an exception worthy of crashing the application, I would have a result type that had an exception on it. That way I could go check the error that comes back. Anyway, we don't do that right here, but that means I could do stream with length here. And I think that feels pretty good to me. I'm starting to like that a lot, which means, oh, one thing that's kind of silly is that I guess this is where people talk about discriminated unions. If I had a result type in this situation here, see how there's a squiggly under stream with length? It's because the type, which I'm using var here, and if I put stream with length here, you'll notice it also gets a squiggly. It gets a squiggly because it's not quite right. It's a nullable stream with length. And that means that technically I need to null check it. But that's silly because the way I design this is that if you have a true coming back, I can't guarantee it in code. That's the hard part. But what I'm trying to do is suggest that it must have a value assigned. So a discriminated union would help us because we would be able to say that we either have the stream coming back or not, and not have to do this weird thing where we check for a true, it's true, but we still can't trust that it's not null. Sucks. Maybe someday. .NET team is very smart. I'm sure they'll figure something cool out. So the way that we get around this is this little guy. We put an exclamation mark and we say, hey, we know it's not. I don't know if we can do it. Can we do it up there? No, you can't. It would be nice if on an out parameter like this, I could say, like, I know that it's not going to be. Anyway, I'm going to leave the squiggly there because technically my code does not guarantee it based on the API, but I think that this should all work. Fingers crossed. There we go. Right. So we didn't change much. We just worked on the ergonomics of calling this thing. So hopefully it feels a little better. In my opinion, it does. But that's not going to be what everyone agrees with, right? I am going to wrap up this stream, but I wanted to, use this as a kind of a sign-off moment to talk about that part in particular, which is I just walk through how I would like to design code. That's my opinion. Someone might be watching this, whether it's live right now and you've been fuming and you're like, maybe you're still writing a message to me that's how much you hate this. Or you might be watching it recorded and you're going to leave me a comment, or you're thinking about this and you're like, I would never write it this way. I hate everything about this. I would throw exceptions. I would listen to what Microsoft has to say about the can seek and the length property. That's totally cool. It's totally cool. My goal here is not to tell you that you must do it this way. Hey, Gerson, thank you. I appreciate the support. But yeah, I'm not here to tell you like you got to do it this way. I think you are missing the exclamation mark in the if plus a return. Then it should not be null for the analyzer. In the if plus a return, is it inside this method? Like, you mean there? Because I don't think that it will know still. Because I think it can only see it based on the API itself, not the internals. Like, we as humans know that, and that's why you could go put an exclamation mark here. If... Oh, I see what you're saying. Sorry, that was actually a bug. It still won't know, though, I don't think. Thank you. So yeah, that was a bug, but the issue is that the analyzer still can't know. I bet you the static analysis could be smart enough to actually figure this part out, but it's going strictly based on the API, I believe. So as a result, it's unable to, which is unfortunate. But thank you. That was definitely a bug that needed a exclamation mark to say not if this worked. So yes, my goal here is to show you that this is how I like to kind of explore building out my API, kind of walking you through how I like to think about my flow control and things like that. But it's not to say that it is the right way. I think I was basically making comments about people like raging about what they're seeing here, but the idea, right, is that you're going to have your own opinions, and I want you to be able to have those opinions, and I want you to be able to work in your teams, right? So if you're watching this and you feel like you're very uh, triggered or unhappy about what you're seeing, and like I would code it a different way, like all of those emotions and that frustration that you're feeling, like there's nothing wrong with that because you're allowed to have your opinions about things. But what is important is that when you go work with your teams at work, is that you don't express things that aggressively. You can have your opinions be known. You can work with other people on the team and say, hey, here's why I wouldn't write it like Nick. Here's why I would use exceptions. Here's why I wouldn't use the try pattern and all this stuff. Like you can have your opinions. And when you go to work with your team, make sure that you're listening to what they have to say too, right? Because everyone has an opinion. You can't, like, it's going to sound funny. You can't tell me that what I coded here is necessarily wrong, aside from that, the can seek with the length thing. Like, according to Microsoft, they're saying that would not be the right thing to do. But otherwise, in terms of the style that I'm using, this is just a style. It's a preference, right? It's not a right or wrong thing. I'm not saying it's better or worse. I'm saying this is what I like. So I want you to think about that when you're working with your teams, because there's going to be other people with strong opinions too, and you should listen to them and you should talk to them. And it's okay to have a heated discussion, but you need to be listening to the other side of it, because you can learn so much when you're listening to other people that have completely different perspectives. You're allowed to disagree on things, right? But if you're never listening and trying to understand what they have to say, it's not going to be a fun time as a software engineer. Like, just get ready for many years of being frustrated. But instead, if you're just willing to listen, you can speak up and share your ideas, but make sure that you're listening to what other people have to say. And I think that you'll be in a better spot to move forward on things. So I think that's it. I didn't get to benchmarking stuff, unfortunately. I am planning on having something like we just saw in here as a video for early next week. And I hope to do the benchmarking stuff as well. The benchmarking is, like I said earlier, if you just joined the stream, the benchmarking is going to feel kind of silly. I'm not trying to prove performance here in terms of runtime performance. We're downloading files off the internet. I don't control any of that stuff. My Comcast could, halfway through the benchmarks decide, no thanks, right? No control. But the part that we have some control over is the memory. And it would be really cool to see that if we do this version, or we can check the length and try to go with the non-memory stream versus memory stream situation, we can hopefully see that the memory allocation that we're doing is lower when we're just streaming directly and not trying to put it all into memory. So I think that's it. But those two, I'm going to split into two videos. One kind of like what you just saw today, but more succinct. You got to see a little behind the scenes of how the code's put together, and then the benchmark stuff. And so, Gerson, thanks. Follow me in all the places. If you have questions, please reach out. Greg, thank you for the comments along the way. And yes, I will try to do more sessions. And with that said, please, reach out to me if you want to see different things, either on YouTube videos or done live. Let me know. I try to make this very clear to people that, like, literally all the content I put out, if I don't have ideas for what you want to see, I'm basically just making content on stuff I get stuck with or stumbling upon, and I go, oh, that would be handy. That's how I write a lot of my blog posts. That's how a lot of the videos come to be, unless people are giving me ideas. So, for example, for this last newsletter I put out, I had someone reach out to me on LinkedIn, and they said, hey, like, thank you so much. Here's a bunch of questions. I have literally 2 newsletters worth of material to put together to answer this person's questions. They're going to be the topic of my live stream coming up on Monday. Monday nights in Pacific time, I try to do more general software engineering. So I'm going to be answering all his questions, and I'll probably do the other half of his questions the following week. So for coding stuff, if you want to see me go through things, just let me know. Like, I'm happy to try and help. It makes my life easier if you let me know the type of content that you want to see. So just let me know. All right. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully this was helpful. Sorry that it took so long to find some videos to download with content length, because it had nothing to do with it. It was just me being an idiot. But there you go. Pair programming, right? Okay. Thanks, folks. Appreciate all of you. And we will see each other soon. Take care. Enjoy the rest.